Hello. So in today's lecture, we are going to look at module 6 of our module 4 of our course EC303 Applied Electromagnetic Theory. So we'll be looking at the course EC303 Applied Electromagnetic Theory. So instead of starting with module 1, we'll be starting with module 4, which is transmission lines. So this is the first lecture on transmission lines. So in this lecture, what we are going to do, so we are going to understand what a transmission line is. So I abbreviate transmission lines as TL. And then we are going to derive the line equation of transmission line. So these are two things we are going to do in this lecture. So a transmission line is any kind of a structure through which an electromagnetic wave can propagate. So we call EM wave this electromagnetic wave. Okay, why it is called as electromagnetic wave and what are the properties? This or we will see in modules 1 to 3. While explaining for transmission lines, we might not need the understanding of EM wave. So only property that we want to know is that the EM wave will have variations along space and time. Okay. Your normal wave that you have studied till now has variations only along time. For example, let's say your wave is f of t is equal to a into sine of omega t. So if you look at this equation, you have only one variable, which is time. So the variations of this wave is only along time. So this is your normal wave. Okay, normal wave that you have studied, which has variations only along time. So what do you mean by a wave have variations only along time? If you imagine that you are standing at some place, okay? You are standing at some place in time. So the time is varying and you're observing the wave. Okay? You're standing at one place, you're observing the wave means the time is keeping on changing. So you can see that the value of the wave at each time instant is different. So this is called as variations in time. We will see in detail all these things again when we see electromagnetic wave. I just explained it to give you an introduction on EM wave because we will use some of its properties in the transmission lines. So coming back to the EM waves, so this is only variations along time. So what if there is a variation along space and time? So then your equation of the wave will be something of this form. F of z comma t is equal to some variation along z into, I would say, let's say sine, or let me put it this way. Let's say some constant into cos of omega t minus beta z. Please note, I have just used sine here and cos here. Doesn't mean that there are two different waves. Both are sinusoidal, both are cosine, both have the same properties. So I just change the sine and cosine term, that's all. But if you observe the other things, if you observe this, you see that omega is your frequency, beta is some kind of a constant. Let's assume it now, that's a constant. And the variation is happening in t and z. Z is actually the variation in the position. Okay, and t, as I said earlier, is the variation in time. So basically this wave varies both in position and time. So what you mean by that, it is varying both in position and time. Again, you assume that you are standing. Okay, now you assume that the time is constant. You have some way of making the time constant. Then when you observe the wave, you will still see a sinusoidal wave. In the first case, when you make the time constant, you will only see one particular point, that is a single value. And you will not see a wave. But in this case, when you make the time constant, you will still see a wave. That is because there is a variation along space. So basically, this variation is along the space set. Again, you are standing. So here the time is constant. But now we are assuming your space is constant. Okay. Your space is constant means your z is constant. Okay. And when you observe, you will still see a wave because this wave is varying in time. So the net effect or some kind of a combination of both will be your final f of z comma t. Okay. So this is a concept we will go in detail when we talk about EM waves, but this is just to give you an overview of what the EM wave looks like. So coming back to our transmission lines, so transmission lines are any kind of connections between two elements which receive EM waves. So there is a component which or a source which transmits the EM wave, and there is a component or a load which receives the EM wave. Okay. A simple example is your system, computer. Your computer might be connected to different networks. And in these networks, there will be some kind of a waves or signals being passed. Signals are of very high frequency in terms of gigahertz. And this you can say it is some kind of a transmission line. Or else you have this base station that you say as towers. Okay. And inside the base station, there will be an antenna which receives the electromagnetic signal, and once it is received, it should be propagated through some kind of a component or wire or something like that to reach to the circuits inside the base station. So this is another transmission line. So basically there's a source for a transmission line, there's a source, and there's a load. So in this case, the source is antenna, and the load is some kind of a circuit which receives the wave or receives the signal. Okay. Again, here in this case, both load and source are two different systems. So when you transmit something along a wire or the transmission line, we need to understand how the wave inside that wire or transmission line behaves. Okay. So if you consider your normal circuit, that means the circuit that usually you wires up in your labs, in your breadboard. You have a voltage source, you have some kind of a resistance, assume. Any component will do, we'll say there's a resistance. And then you have a load. Okay. Let's consider a point B here and a point B dash here. So if I ask you this question, what is the voltage difference between B and B dash? What will be your answer? So the voltage difference between B and B dash is basically the voltage at B dash minus voltage at B. And this is a simple wire. We are assuming that wire doesn't have any resistance. So your answer will be, this will be 0. Good. That is correct. So then I ask you, what if I change the source? So this is some setup you have wired in your breadboard in your lab. You have given from the function generator a voltage source which is of some frequency from the function generator. So if I change the voltage source, or if I vary the frequency of voltage source from, let's say, small hertz to some gigahertz, will there be any change in this answer? So why I am mentioning this is in transmission lines, the EM waves will travel at high frequency. Okay, so we are going to see how an increase in frequency will affect your answer. Okay, so let's take some values. Let's say my voltage source is some kind of a wave, sine of 2 pi ft with some amplitude. Let's say my amplitude is 1. Okay, so f is basically 1 by time period. So I am setting my time period of this wave as 10 seconds, implies your f is equal to zero point 0.1 hertz. This is a very, very low frequency. Now let's say dB dash is equal to the distance between points B and B dash that is shown in the circuit. So this is, let's say this is 1 centimeter. Okay, good. Now let's calculate what is the value of the wavelength lambda. So wavelength lambda is, as you know, it is C by F. This is 3 into 10 raised to 8 divided by F is 0.1. So this is around 3 into 10 raised to 9 meters. This is a very, very huge value. So if your wave is something like this, so if you consider the point B and B dash in a single line, okay, so this distance is only 10 centimeter. So if you compare the wavelength with respect to the distance of these points, that is very, very small. Okay, this is very high value, the wavelength, and the distance is very low. So if I draw the wave in a single wavelength, so this is a single wavelength, and this distance is 3 into 10 raised to 9 meter. Okay, so if this wave is traveling in this circuit, then you know that the B dash will be negligibly small, or you can say that the voltage of this difference of voltage of B dash is same, or it is 0. Okay, so if you, so it is almost constant. When the wave travels along B dash, it will be almost constant. So this voltage will be almost same. Okay, so it will be 0. It is good. Now let's take another example. Let's say T is equal to 1 nanoseconds. So your F will be 1 gigahertz. Your wavelength lambda will be C by F is equal to 3 into 10 raised to 8 by 1 into 10 raised to 9. So 1 gigahertz is 10 raised to 9 hertz. And you see that now the wavelength is zero point 0.1 meter, that is 10 centimeter. So if you compare now, you see the wavelength value is very much comparable to the distance value. Okay, so let's plot the wave. So when you plot the wave, you see this distance is now only 10 centimeter. Okay, I am assuming that this is plotting in D scale distance. Okay, so basically this is half of the distance, which will be around 5 centimeter, and this will be the half of 5 centimeter will be a 2.5 centimeter. So your 1 centimeter D B B dash will be around somewhere here. Okay, so this will be somewhere around here. So this will be around like 0.7 or something if you calculate the sine value. So this is 45 degree, assuming this is like this is 180 degree, 90 degree, 45 degree. Just a rough thing, that's all. I am not taking the exact values. So if I draw the distance now, B B dash. So if B is at origin, B dash will be this point. So it will be something like this. The wave is traveling in the circuit as shown. The lambda of the wave is 10 centimeter. The distance between the points B and B dash is 1 centimeter. So if you assume the wave has started from B at origin, so at B dash it will be the point shown as point with the value 0.7. So the voltage, so this wave has this axis as voltage because we are considering a sinusoidal wave. So the voltage at VB is now 0 and the voltage at VB dash is now 0.707 volt. So what happens to the voltage difference between these two? It is not equal to 0. We haven't assumed anything regarding resistance of the wire, capacitance of the wire, or inductance of the wire. We only change the frequency to in the range of gigahertz for the source. That's the only change that we made. But still, we see that two adjacent points in the circuit give me a non-zero voltage difference. And this is important because this is why we need to analyze transmission lines. Transmission lines cannot be analyzed using the normal circuit behavior that you study in your normal courses, electronic circuits, etc. It need to be analyzed in a different way. Okay. Now this effect that you just saw is called as transit time effect. You can say a signal requires finite time to travel along an electric circuit which is no more negligible compared to the period of the signal. So that's the definition of transit time. Transit time effect. So what does that mean? It means that we have considered the time period of the wave as 1 nanosecond, which is 10 raised to minus 9 seconds. So your frequency is 1 gigahertz. Your wavelength lambda is 10 centimeter. So the time taken to travel the distance b dash is the distance between those 2 points divided by c. Okay, so distance between those 2 points, we already told it is 1 centimeter, which is 1 into 10 raised to minus 2 meter, and the wavelength is, sorry, the velocity is velocity of light. This is 3 into 10 raised to 8 meter. So this time taken is 1 by 3 into 10 raised to minus 10 seconds. If you compare the time period and time taken, it is almost same. Okay, so that is what it is said here. So if the time taken and the time period of the wave is comparable, then there is a transit time effect. In the first example that we saw, the time period is around 10 seconds. And when you compare 10 seconds with the time taken for the wave to travel b dash, is it cannot be compared because the time period is very high. Okay, so this is the main cause of transit time effect. So because of the transit time effect, if you look at this circuit, you assume that there is nothing in the wires, or you are not having any resistance, etc., etc. So this is called as a lumped circuit that we usually use. We are going to define, or this is called as a lumped circuit or circuit with lumped elements. So the resistance or the load or the capacitance that we mention here are having lumped elements. So in order to accommodate this transit time effect, we define something called as a distributed elements. Okay. So for lumped elements, if you want to do the circuit analysis using random elements, then the condition is that your transit time, I am representing as TR, should be much less than the time period. Okay, you can look at the first example that we saw where time period is 10 seconds. There you see that the transit time is very small. Okay, because transit time is this one, which is 1 by 3 10 raised to minus 10 seconds, which is very small when compared to the t 10 seconds in the first example. But in the second example, it is comparable. This condition will not be valid, and then you cannot use this lumped elements in this one. So we go forward with something called as a distributed elements. Okay, so we have a source and we have a transmission line which is connected to some kind of a load. Okay, so there's a load, there's a transmission line, there is a voltage source. So the circuit elements of the transmission line is distributed elements. Distributed elements means it still have resistance, inductance, capacitance, and conductance. But we are not saying the resistance is the total resistance of the transmission line. We are saying the resistance is per unit length. Okay, so I can give a model of transmission line as like this. You have a conductance, resistance, capacitance, and an inductance. So this is a model of a transmission line where there is a conductance G, resistance, capacitance, and inductance. So when you chain this together, so again there is conductance, resistance, inductance, and there is a capacitance. When you chain multiple of these things together, you will get the transmission line. So this you are considering only for one particular small distance, because you know that when the wave propagates to transmission lines, it is depending on that distance between any 2 points in the transmission lines. So we are not taking the complete resistance or inductance or conductance or capacitance. And important thing, the resistance here R is resistance per unit length. Okay, ohm per meter. We are not taking simply resistance, but we are taking resistance per unit length. Similarly, L is equal to inductance per unit length, Henry per meter. C is equal to capacitance per unit length, farad per meter, and G is equal to conductance per unit length, which is Siemens per meter. So you see that you can still analyze the transmission line as some kind of a circuit. So this is some kind of a circuit, but it is with distributed elements. So if you look at the meaning of distributed, it means that it is spread over the complete things. The resistance is spread over the complete transmitter line. It is, you cannot say the resistance at this point is this value. It may vary along the transmission line. So you always consider a small part of a transmission line and you say the resistance per length of this transmission line at this part is R. Okay, this is basically the distributed elements. So this is how we model the transmission line, because once when the wave is traveling inside the transmission line, we want to find out what is the wave behavior. Just like in your normal circuit, when you give a voltage to the circuit, you want to find out what is the voltage at any particular point of your circuit. What is the current at any particular point of your circuit? In a similar way, you want, in this case also, you want to find out at any point in the transmission line, at any point in the transmission line, what is the voltage and current. So once you find out voltage and current, you can analyze it. You can design a proper load, or you can design the transmission line so that maximum power is transferred to the load. Because finally it is the power transfer that is matters. You need to transfer the maximum power from the voltage source to your load. Okay. So what we are going to do next is we are going to look at the line equation in transmission line. Okay. So line equation means we are going to derive an equation from which if you solve that equation, you will be able to get the voltage value or a current value at any point in the transmission line. Okay. Okay. So let's go forward and derive it. So before deriving, the derivation is very simple. If you know basic Kirchhoff's voltage law and current law, it is as simple as that. So we are going to consider a transmission line of length delta Z. And you know the transmission line model is you have a resistance, you have an inductance, you have a conductance, and you have a capacitance. As you know, in almost all the cases, the conductance and the capacitance will always come in parallel to the circuit, and the resistance and the inductance will always come in series with the circuit. Okay, fine. So this is G. So we are considering a length of a transmission line from Z to Z plus delta Z. So the distance here is delta Z. We are going to derive an equation for voltage and current, which is called as line equation, for a delta Z portion of transmission line. So as we said earlier, R is the resistance per unit length. So if you consider a distance of delta Z, then the total resistance for delta Z distance is R into delta Z. Similarly, inductance is L. So the total inductance, so this L is the inductance per unit length. So the total inductance is L into delta Z for that length delta Z. And similarly, the total conductance is G into delta Z and the total capacitance is C into delta Z. So R into delta Z is equal to the resistance for a length delta Z in the transmission line. So this is in ohms. If you have a resistance per unit length, you multiply with the length or you integrate along the length, you will get the total resistance. Here in this structure, we are considering a constant resistance along length delta Z. So when you multiply R into delta Z, you will get the total resistance. Similarly, L into delta Z is equal to the inductance for a length delta Z in transmission line. Similarly, you have G into delta Z and C into delta Z, which is for conductance and capacitance. We also define the voltage at any point at the position Z. So this is at Z position, this is at Z plus delta Z position. So basically, we are moving from the position Z here to the position Z plus delta Z here in the transmission line. And the voltage is V of Z comma T. So if you look at here, the V of Z comma T is actually an electromagnetic wave, because we have defined how the wave, electromagnetic wave, at the starting of the lecture. So V of Z comma T is some kind of a wave which varies in time and position. So this is the voltage which varies in time and position. So if voltage varies in time and position, you know the fundamental Ohm's rule, that V by I is equal to R, where R is a constant. Here R into delta Z is a constant. So your current will also vary in time and position. Okay, so there is a current here which is I of z comma t, which is varying in time and position. Now note, these two are basically some kind of a sinusoidal variation. Okay, so you can say something like v of z into sine of omega t, something like this. Okay, because electromagnetic wave is always a sinusoidal variation in electric and magnetic field. So always you can consider that v of z comma t and I of z comma t is a sinusoidal variation. Now, as the current passes through this circuit, at this node, you will have a delta I coming, and you will have a new current I of z plus delta z comma t here. So I of z plus delta z comma t is the current at the position z plus delta z. Okay, so these two are the voltage and current at position z of transmission line. So we told that I of z plus delta z comma t is the current at position z plus delta z. Similarly, there is a voltage here which is V of z plus delta z comma t. So I can write V of z plus delta z comma t and I of z plus delta z comma t are the voltage and current at position z plus delta z of transmission line. Okay, so z plus delta z means like you are considering a position at transmission line 1 meter, and then you are considering at a position line 1.000001 meter. So that is a very small value. Fine. So I think we have defined all the parameters inside our model. Now we are going to look at the derivation. So first we are going to look at the KVL, Kirchhoff's voltage law, at the outer loop. So which is that outer loop? So you start from V, you come and you go this way. So this is the outer loop. Okay, so we're going to apply Kirchhoff's voltage law at the outer loop. So you have V of z comma t. There's a voltage drop of R into delta z into I of z comma t here, and there is a drop of L into delta z into dou I z comma t by dt here, and then there's a voltage drop of V of z plus delta z minus t. So I can write V of z comma t minus I of z comma t into R of delta z. That is the voltage drop across R into delta z plus L into delta z into dou I of z comma t by dou t. So if there is an inductor, the voltage drop across inductor is L into dou I di by dt, where I is the current passing through the inductor. Here we have put as dou, which is a partial differentiation, because I varies along z and t, and the differentiation is only along t. So we don't want to differentiate with respect to z. So that's why we put it as dou I z comma t by dou t. And then we have our last voltage, which is, sorry, this is minus, which is V of z plus delta z comma t. So let's rearrange this equation. So we'll bring V z of z plus delta c to, so this equal to 0. This should also be there. So we bring V of z plus delta c comma t into this part. Also, this also will go to the LHS, sorry, RHS, and we see how the equation looks like. So I can write V of z plus delta z comma t minus V of z comma t is equal to I of z comma t into R delta z plus L delta z dou I of z comma t by dou t, complete thing inside the minus sign. Okay, and again, so delta z is common in the right hand side, so I can take delta z to the left hand side. I can write V of z plus delta z comma t minus V of z comma t by delta z is equal to minus of I of z comma t into R plus L into dou I of z comma t by dou t. Okay. Now this equation is something that it is familiar to you. If you limit delta z tending to 0, basically this one is the differential of V of z comma t, or you can say with respect to dou z. Again, you see it is partial differentiation because V varies along z and t, but the differentiation is only along z. So we put as partial differentiation. So I'm bringing this minus sign to left hand side. You can write dou, sorry, V of z comma t by dou z is equal to I of z comma t into R plus L dou I of z comma t by dou t. Okay, so basically what it did was we put a limit delta s tending to 0 for this one. So this is the first voltage equation that we have derived. If you look at this equation, you have differential in terms of I and V, and there's a term of I z comma t into R. Let's say this is equation number 1. Let's apply Kirchhoff's current law or KCL at the main node. So at this node, I'm going to apply Kirchhoff's current law. So according to Kirchhoff's current law, the current coming in this node is I z comma t, and the current leaving is delta I and I of z plus delta z comma t. Okay, so I can write it as I of z comma t is equal to I of z plus delta z comma t plus delta I. Okay, now if you look at the circuit, the delta I is because of the voltage and the components of this branch, and the voltage across this branch is V of z plus delta z comma t. So if you divide the voltage, divide the voltage and the total impedance along that branch, you will get the current delta I. Since it is parallel connection, it is easy to do. So your delta I is basically V of z plus delta z comma t multiplied by g of delta z, because basically this g of delta z divided v of z plus delta z comma t divided by the impedance. The impedance is 1 by g of delta z, so the delta g of delta z will come at the top, plus now the voltage across the capacitance is v of delta z plus delta z comma t, so you need to differentiate it. So across the capacitance it is c into delta z dou v of z plus delta z comma t divided by dot t. So this is actually the current along G delta Z branch, and this is the current along C delta Z branch. So when you sum the currents, you will get delta I. So let's substitute delta I in this equation, in the I of Z equation. So substituting delta I in I of Z comma t, you will have I of Z comma t is equal to I of Z plus delta Z comma t plus V of Z plus delta Z comma t into G of delta Z plus C into delta Z dou V of Z plus delta Z comma t divided by dou t. Again, as we did earlier, I am moving I to this side. Okay, so I'll get I of Z comma t minus I of Z plus delta Z comma t is equal to V of Z plus delta Z comma t into G into delta Z plus C into delta Z into dou V of Z plus delta Z comma t divided by dou t. But to get a differentiation type of equation, you need to have this I of Z plus delta Z comma t minus I of Z comma t. So I'm just multiplying with the minus. So this is I of Z plus delta Z comma t minus I of z comma t, and I am bringing delta z, which is common in RHS, to this side by delta z is equal to minus of v of z plus delta z comma t into g plus c into dou v of z plus delta z comma t by t. Now, if I put the limit delta z tends to 0, you see this is basically differentiation with respect to z. So we'll have partial differentiation because I varies in z and t, and we are differentiating only with respect to z. So I am also bringing this minus sign to the left hand side. So I'll have minus dou I of z comma t by dou t is equal to v of z plus delta z comma t into g plus c into dou v of z plus delta z comma t by dou t. Okay, so this is our next equation. Again, this is in terms of I of z comma t and v of z plus delta z comma t. So we put this equation as equation number. Okay, so we have derived equations in terms of I of z comma t, v of z comma t, v of z plus z delta z comma t, I of z plus delta z comma t. Now we need to manipulate this equation in a different way so that we have a equation only in terms of either I of z comma t or v of z comma t. Okay, and from there we can derive the final line equations and the corresponding solution for the equations. So we'll stop now and we will continue in the next class. So I hope you have understood what is mentioned in this lecture. Please go through the lecture and let me know if you have any queries. And thank you for listening.